Overpaying for anything sucks, especially socks, so why pay $45 for a single pair of grip socks when you can spend less than half? Pure Grip Socks Pro feature our best materials for optimal fit, moisture wicking, and performance at a fair price, just $16.99 a pair at puregripsocks.com.
Now, as you can see by the comment section on this video, I don't think we'll ever be able to agree about who the better player is, Messi or Ronaldo, but what we might be able to answer is which player in 2021 has the better football boots, Messi or Ronaldo? You know, we probably won't agree on that either. Fresh out of the Adidas Nemesis line, which has now been discontinued by the way, Messi's current boot of choice, and by boot of choice I mean the boots that he is paid by Adidas to wear because he has a lifetime contract with the brand, is the Adidas X Speedflow 0.1, bearing a retail price of $250, and arguably one of the most desirable high-tech football boots currently available. Where Ronaldo's boot of choice, also by way of lifetime contract with Nike, is the Mercurial Superfly 8 Elite, bearing a retail price of $275. The Mercurial series really having legendary status in the football boot world, largely due to the impact of Cristiano Ronaldo wearing them. The crazy part being that the boots stack up about as closely as the actual players do. So in the name of splitting hairs and trying to figure out which of these two is better overall, or at the very least better for you based on your personal preferences, I'm going to do my best to compare these two boots and help you decide which one you should go for, regardless of whether you're on Team Ronaldo or on Team Messi. So if you're interested in learning more, including how they both fit and feel on feet, please stick around and watch the entire comparison. And if you are interested in either of these boots for yourself, you can pick them up below their normal retail prices by way of some exclusive SR4U coupon codes by checking out the review pages on my website, both of which will be linked down below. As always, if you guys do end up enjoying the video and perhaps want to see more boot comparisons on the channel, please don't forget to support this one with a like. And also guys, I have a goal of hitting 750,000 subscribers on this channel by the end of the year. So for those of you that watch the content, enjoy it, but aren't already subbed to the channel, it would mean the world to me if you could hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. Now this of course has nothing to do with performance, but it is a factor that does influence a lot of people nonetheless, and I guess feel free to share your opinion, but who has the better looking football boot, not just in these specific colorways, but in general, Messi or Ronaldo? Now, regardless of which of these two boots you go for, the upper is going to provide what I would describe as a barefoot sensation, where in terms of overall thickness, they're pretty close in that they're both very thin and offer no extra padding to it whatsoever. There is zero softness from either of these two uppers, but what you're going to find with the Messi model in the Speedflow 0.1 is a textile-based synthetic material with a top layer of polyurethane that is that smidge thinner and less structured. This has really good pliability to it in that it doesn't have any stiffness, it doesn't feel rigid in any way, and it also has a slight elastic quality, and it's this elasticity that I think makes this upper feel that little bit more natural on your feet. It moves more nicely with the bend of your foot, and depending on what your preferences are, you might actually find this to be that little bit more comfortable. At least that's the case with me, where you're going to find the Vaporposit upper from Nike is significantly more structured. It has a little bit more of a rigid, dare I say, plasticky sensation, which sounds negative, but it's not. It's more true to the early days of the Mercurial Vapor and Superfly in that regard, but still remarkably comfortable, all things considered. With the laces tied tight, you're gonna find that the Mercs have a tighter overall feel. They're more secure on your feet. They have more of that locked-in sensation versus the slight stretch of the Speedflow, which kind of makes this boot, I don't want to say sloppy, but in comparison to the Mercurials, this just feels significantly more secure and maybe that little bit sharper in terms of overall touch on the ball. I think the general feel is a little bit better because of the slightly thinner upper and pliability of the Speedflow 0.1, but in terms of giving you that signature barefoot feel that the Mercurial line really created, it's hard to deny that the Superfly 8 doesn't do a phenomenal job. Again, both are excellent if you're looking for that barefoot feel. It's more so just differences in terms of characteristics in regards to how they feel on your feet. Mid-cut or low-cut, and this is something that a lot of people really buy into since mid-cut football boots were popularized several years back now. And if it's something that is in your head where you just feel more comfortable wearing a mid-cut boot, I guess you have that option in the Superfly 8, where the Speedflow 0.1 is only available in low-cut form. What is nice with the Mercurial though, while it's technically not the same boot Ronaldo wears, you do have the option of the Vapor 14, which is the same boot in low-cut form, which personally I prefer the look of. But it's not really a deciding factor when it comes to overall performance. I would say it's more so a mental thing or a looks thing, depending on what your preferences are. If you really need extra ankle support, tape your ankles. This is another area where these two boots are extremely difficult to separate, and that these are two of the best sole plates and stud patterns on the market. With that said, I think they each have one significant element that makes them distinctive from each other, as well as just about every other football boot you can buy. With the Superfly, it is the anatomically shaped sole plate, which is an element that you can't really see, but what it effectively is a sole plate that runs from heel to toe, that instead of being perfectly flat, is actually contoured to the bottom of your foot, meaning that you sit slightly in the sole plate rather than directly on top of a flat surface. It's a very minor thing, and I think people visualize this to feel a lot different than it actually does, but being able to sit in the sole plate ever so slightly makes the world of difference in regards to how connected you feel to the base of these football boots. And when you pair that up with the extremely structured upper and tight fit of the Mercurial series in general, you end up with this locked in, extremely responsive sensation where the boot feels like it responds the second that you do. It has this sharpness that no other football boot can provide, and it doesn't allow your foot to slide, even if it's just a little bit, on the surface of that sole plate, which again makes a bigger difference than I think you might expect, and something that is extremely noticeable when you go into a Mercurial from any other line of football boots. As far as the sole plate is concerned, it's got nice snappiness to the forefoot area. I stole that word from J-Mike, I'm going to admit that right now, but the FG stud pattern is also a major highlight of the Mercurial line, and that I would argue it's the most aggressive one on the market, even a little bit more so than what you're gonna find from the Speedflow. But again, that's a little bit splitting hairs, and that the stud pattern from the X is also really solid, but that anatomic sole plate is definitely the star here. Where Messi's boot features what's called a speed frame, which does feature an external heel counter, is a plastic sole plate, but you can see very distinctively features exposed carbon fiber running through the forefoot and toe box area. This is an insert made by a company called Carbitex that is there for the sake of energy return every single time your foot bends, an element that you are going to notice with every single step that you take. And this energy return, I would say, is definitely noticeable compared to every other football boot. And they've even paired that up with the forefoot being a little bit raised from the heel, which I think something that people have always liked about the Mercurial line is their sole plates and stud patterns do a really good job of putting you on your toes. This has a similar sensation. It makes you feel light on your feet, and then this kickback from this Carbitex insert is just really, really impressive. I don't want to say that this is a true performance enhancer, but similar to that anatomic sole plate, I feel like it's one of those elements that does legitimately make a difference when you compare the feel of this boot underfoot to pretty much anything else out there. So it's kind of pick your poison in terms of two of the best elements in sole plates that are currently available, but I really like what Adidas have done here with this Carbitex insert, and then the stud pattern as a whole. I think it's a nice improvement over what Adidas has been doing on their speed boots in the last decade or so. I think the more bladed style studs provide plenty of bite, although like I mentioned, it's just that little bit less aggressive in FG form versus what you're gonna find from the Mercs. When it comes to weight, the scale does not lie. In a size 9.5 US, you can see that Ronaldo's Superfly 8 Elite weighs in at 7.4 ounces, the equivalent of 209 grams. Change the scale back to ounces, and we'll throw on Messi's Speedflow 0.1, and you can see that they weigh in at 7.3 ounces, the equivalent of 207 grams. So as you can see, there is a whole 2 gram weight difference between these two football boots, meaning that you should not be concerned about the weight of these two football boots. They're both light. Now, despite both of these boots having really thin uppers, they do feel distinctly different from each other in regards to fit and feel on feet, where the Mercurial, you'll immediately notice, has a slimmer, lower volume shape to it with an upper that has more structure and simply squeezes your foot tighter than what you're going to find from the Speedflows with its slightly wider shape, increased volume, certainly through the toe box and forefoot area, as well as its kind of more pliable, slightly elasticated upper that just moves a little bit more naturally with your foot. It feels less restricted. And I think that automatically sounds like this is the better fitting football boot, but that's not necessarily the case. Comfort is something that is very subjective, and the Mercurial has built a reputation around having a signature fit, that super tight, super secure squeeze your foot sensation. If you like that, you're going to prefer the fit of the Mercs. If you don't like that, you're probably going to find the Speedflows to be a lot more comfortable. From a width perspective, certainly the Speedflows have more width to them, but I would say if you have really wide feet, neither of these are necessarily going to be great options, but both will still fit most people. Just keep in mind the Mercs in general will feel tighter on your feet, where in regards to overall sizing, I'm wearing both of these football boots in my usual size 9.5 US, and the fit in the length is perfect. So regardless of whether you go for Ronaldo or Messi's football boots, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. So, two of the very best players in the world wearing two of the very best football boots currently available, certainly if you're talking about boots available in the speed category. And I think it would be misleading for me to say that one is clearly better than the other, because I think they compare so closely in almost every single area. You can definitely separate them, I think, from a lockdown and responsiveness standpoint, both because of the anatomic sole plate, as well as the more structured upper and just tighter overall fit and shape that these have. The Mercs do feel more responsive, where I think the slight elasticity to the upper, many would argue, makes the Speedflow feel more comfortable than the Mercurials, and I think that the Carbitex insert underfoot is something that you really notice and feel with every single step, where in an age of football boots that are all about technology, it's cool to see a piece of tech that truly feels like it makes a difference. They're both incredible football boots, and while they do a lot of things in very similar ways, they're still different enough where I think based on a lot of what I've described in this video, you can take your own personal preferences into account and kind of have a pretty good idea of which of these two boots is going to be best for you, because that's really what this comes down to. Some people are absolutely going to prefer the feel of the Mercurial, and some people are absolutely going to prefer the feel of the Speedflow. It's not really a one or the other thing. You need to pick based on preferences because they are both phenomenal overall performers. However, if you guys are wondering what I would pick based on my personal preferences, as much as I like the Mercs and as much as I like Ronaldo, I think I would end up playing in the Speedflows. And as for my opinion on who the better player is, it's clearly, and that's pretty much it for this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to support it with a like. Again, if you're interested in either of these boots for yourself, get them below their normal retail prices by checking out the links down below in the description. If you have any questions, as always, feel free to leave that down below in the comments and I'll do my best to get an answer out to you. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, make sure you hit that subscribe button along with the little bell notification so you get notified when the next new video goes live. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, thank you so much for watching and we'll see you in the next one.